Job demanded an answer from God. So God showed up in a hurricane and started talking about sea monsters. Here's where we are. A good man lost everything. His friends told him it was his fault. He screamed at the sky and demanded a trial with the Almighty. And for chapter after chapter, silence. Until now. Because the storm on the horizon has arrived, God is finally going to speak. And what he says is going to be the most confusing, most disturbing, and, if you stay to the end, the most strangely comforting answer in the entire Bible. Because God never answers the question Job asked. And that is the whole point.
This is the Word Keeper.
The Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, not out of a gentle breeze, not out of a quiet voice at the end, out of the storm itself, the wind and the thunder and the roar. And notice what God does not do. He does not comfort Job. He does not explain the suffering. He does not apologize. And most shocking of all, he never once mentions the wager in heaven. Job will go to his grave never knowing why any of this happened. Instead, God opens his mouth and asks a question of his own. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Job wanted to put God on the witness stand, and in a single sentence, God has turned the whole courtroom around. What follows is one of the most breathtaking passages ever written. For 4 straight chapters, God asks Job question after question after question, and Job cannot answer a single one. Have you commanded the morning since your days began? Have you entered the storehouses of the snow? Where is the way to the dwelling of light? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Who has let the wild donkey go free? The ostrich, who laughs at the horse and its rider. The war horse, who paints its neck with thunder and cannot stand still at the sound of the trumpet. The hawk that soars. The eagle that nests on the cliff. On and on it goes. A torrent of wild, untamed, magnificent creation. Stars and storms and seas and beasts. And every question lands on the same unspoken point. Job, you weren't there. You didn't build this. You don't run it. You cannot even comprehend it. The universe is not a courtroom with you as the judge. It is a wild and holy thing, far bigger than your formulas, and far bigger than your pain. And then God saves the strangest for last. He points Job to 2 creatures that have haunted the human imagination ever since. First, Behemoth, a beast of staggering power. His bones are tubes of bronze, God says, his limbs like bars of iron. He is the first of the works of God, a monument of raw, untamable strength. And then Leviathan, the monster of the deep. And God spends an entire chapter on this one creature. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook? Will he make a covenant with you? Out of his mouth go flaming torches, sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils comes smoke. His breath kindles coals, and a flame comes forth from his mouth. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Now, be careful here. People spend lifetimes arguing what Leviathan really was. A crocodile? A whale? Something older? The Bible refuses to tell you, and that refusal is the point. Leviathan is the untamable, the thing you cannot control, cannot cage, cannot understand. And God's message is devastatingly simple. You can't tame this creature, Job, and I made it for fun. So tell me again, how are you planning to put me on trial? And here is the thing that stuns everyone who reads Job carefully for the first time. God never answers the question. He never says, Job, this happened because Satan challenged me. He never explains the suffering. He never gives Job the one thing Job spent the whole book demanding, a reason. Instead of explaining the pain, God does something else entirely. He expands the view. He takes a man crushed and shrunk down to the size of his own agony, and he lifts his eyes to a universe so vast, so wild, so intricate, so far beyond human management, that the question itself begins to change shape. Because Job was standing in his suffering demanding that the universe make sense according to his formula. Good rewarded, evil punished, everything explained. And God's answer is, the universe is bigger than your formula. I am bigger than your formula. There are things happening far beyond what you can see. The non-answer is the answer. God does not hand Job an explanation, he hands Job himself, and something breaks open in Job, not in defeat, in awe. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, he says quietly, but now my eye sees you. Do you catch what just happened? Job didn't get an answer. He got a presence. All this time he had known about God. Secondhand, by report, by rumor, by the tidy theology of his fathers, and now, in the whirlwind, he has met God himself. Therefore, Job says, I lay my hand on my mouth. I have spoken once, and I will not answer. He is not crushed. He is not humiliated. He is satisfied. The man who demanded a reason walked away without one, and found that the presence of God was somehow more than the reason he came for. He never got his why. He got a who, and it was enough. Maybe you're waiting for an answer that isn't coming. Why the diagnosis? Why the loss? Why him? Why her? Why now? Why this? You've prayed the question 1,000 ways, and heaven has been quiet, and the silence has almost broken you. Job's story tells you something hard and something freeing at the same time. Sometimes in this life, we do not get the explanation. The reason stays hidden. The why never comes. But that was never the deepest thing we needed. Because what met Job in the storm was not an answer. It was a presence. And that presence turned out to be the thing his soul was actually starving for all along. You are not alone in the hurricane. The same God who spoke to Job out of the storm is with you in yours. You may never get the reason, but you are not abandoned to face it by yourself. And somehow, Job would tell you that is more than enough to stand on. And then the story turns toward home. God restores Job, not because Job earned it, but because grace is like that. The Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. New wealth, new family, 7 sons and 3 daughters, the most beautiful in all the land. And Job lived 140 years and saw his children and his children's children, 4 generations. And then he died, an old man and full of days. But here is the gift the book saves for you and only you. Job never knew. He lived his whole life, right to the end, never learning about the conversation in heaven, never knowing his suffering was not punishment, never seeing the reason. But you saw it. You were there in chapter 1. You know the thing Job never knew, that his agony was never God abandoning him. It was a battlefield where his love for God proved to be the realest thing in the universe. His pain had a purpose he could not see. Job trusted God without ever getting to look behind the curtain. You just looked behind the curtain. So the next time you're in the dark, wondering if your suffering means anything at all, remember what Job couldn't, that there may be a purpose to your pain so large you cannot see the edges of it from where you're standing. So what is the book of Job actually about? Maybe it was never really about why we suffer. Maybe the question was never going to be answered on this side of the storm. Maybe Job is about who is with us in the suffering, a God who does not always explain, but who shows up. A God big enough to hold a universe of wild creation and small enough to speak to one broken man in the ashes. A God who lets the righteous hurt, but never ever lets that hurt be the final word. Your pain is real, but it is not meaningless, and it is not the end of your story. There may be a meaning to it right now that you simply can't see yet, a purpose being written in a place you can't look into. If this touched something in you tonight, share it with someone who is sitting in their own ashes right now. They need to hear that they're not alone in the hurricane. This has been The Word Keeper, and the next story is already waiting on your screen. I'll see you there.
If this story moved you, subscribe. The next one will change everything.